good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on church stories. I am Oyin Opala. Let's begin. As we reflect on the ongoing Ambazonian War of Liberation, which has now entered its eighth year, the toll of this protracted conflict on the people of Southern Cameroon continues to mount. What began as peaceful protests for the rights and dignity of Ambazonia has escalated into a full-scale war, with the Ambazonian people still fighting to reclaim their sovereignty and self-determination. This has left thousands dead, displaced millions, and devastated the once thriving communities of Ambazonia. The daily realities of those living in the war-torn regions are grim, with widespread insecurity gripping both urban and rural areas. Armed confrontation between the Ambazonian Defense Forces and the occupying Yaoundé regime's military continues to wreak havoc, making everyday life perilous. Meanwhile, the Yaoundé government has systematically neglected the basic needs of the Ambazonian population, from infrastructure collapse to an almost total lack of access to healthcare and education. The people of Southern Cameroon are caught in a vicious circle of violence, deprivation, and abandonment. As the world watches, Amazonia remains steadfast in its pursuit of liberation, undeterred by the military onslaught and the annexationist policies of the Yaoundé region and regime. The question that looms large is, how long can this war continue before Amazonia is heard and a lasting peace is achieved? What would depend on the international action on this war, or what would the international community do? The resolve of the Ambazonian people, yearning for a future free from oppression and neglect, stands in stark contrast to the dysfunction of the current colonial system of occupation. The struggle for sovereignty continues amidst mounting challenges. The spirit of Ambazonia remains unbroken and unbent. Well, before we get into the full briefings of tonight's Undaunted, let's get the prime headlines.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied. Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless, and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe la we have succeeded. This is about Ambazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia. Donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Raging fires in Mbouda, another market devastated by flames. After the call out from Undaunted, Dio of Ndu has made a move. Bia's absence fuels secession debate in the Cameroons continues. Cameroon grapples with devastating floods amid presidential absence as well. All the Africans seeing tragedy in northeastern Egypt as bus crash claims 12 lives, injures 33 university students. While on the foreign scene, Biden's administration stands by Israel with third deployment. Now let's get the news in full briefings. All right, so sorry for that little break in transmission. The divisional officer of Ndu subdivision, Adamu Shaibu, has announced the creation of a commission to probe unprecedented killings in two villages after Undaunted made a series of reports condemning his silence. You will remember. You will remember that last Thursday, we reported that residents of the sub-village in the Ndu local government area have blocked the main road connecting Donga Mountain in the Savannah zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia to Magba in La Republic to Cameroon West region. This blockade was mounted on Wednesday, October 9, following a series of deadly attacks on the community reportedly carried out by armed Mbouda militias. The recent attack led to the assassination of Mr. and Mrs. Mango George in cold blood. In response, a large group, mainly composed of women, took to the streets, carrying peace placards and blocking traffic on the main road, which has become a critical route for travelers in and out of Dungan Manchun Council due to insecurity on the Kumba and Cambe Road as a result of the ongoing war in Ambazonia. So now the commission that has been inaugurated will be charged with investigating kidnappings, killings, and series of robberies in Sop and Nsei Makop villages. Now, the commission includes the DO of Ndu, the brigade commission commander of Ndu, the mayor of Ndu Council, the field pastor of Ndu, the commissioner of police, and the imam of the Nchumbao. Well, this commission took like forever. But we are wondering what happens to the people while their investigation is going on. We thought that there would have been an immediate, active, and proactive measures, while a peace meeting convened by members of the Wumbum Community and Cultural and Developmental Association has far-reaching agreements by both the natives and the settlers. Well, information gathered reveals that the meeting was also attended by the Mbororos as well. Would they heed to the meeting? Would they stick to the plan? However, nothing has changed as suspected Mboro militias continues to lay mayhem in the village. And so, why the commission in the first place? What happens while this commission is trying to have her investigation? Does this solve the problem? I wouldn't know, but let's find out from our in-house analyst and of course a voice when it comes to diplomatic matters as this Barrister Mbeseha. Barrister Mbeseha, this is what they have done. Will this go any way in trying to offer solutions to the killings going on by the Mbareros?
Uh, Thank you once more. To me, if you ask that question, I would say no. They are not attempting to they are not trying to solve the problem. What they are trying to do is to buy time. And you have to look at all what is done in the context of the socio-political environment where they find themselves. First, the Mbururos and the farmers, the Numboro people who are fighting over land. I've said that before. They have been existing there for thousands upon thousands of years, in fact, from time immemorial. And so they have been farming and grazing in common. How did this come up to this point? I remember asking this question. The problem is a creation of the government. And so no commission will solve it. On the face of it, kidnapping, killing, those are common crimes that should be investigated not by commissions. No, they are common crimes. And so if it's a common crime being committed, you find people who are put there as members of the commission. The brigade commander, the commissioner of police, the DO, the imam. These are the people who have been there forever. These are the very people who were there when they created the vigilante group and armed them to go and kill people, burn their houses, and burn their corpses in Garibu. They created a commission at that time, even from the ministry. The ministry is by far higher than that thing called the DO. The commission came out with results, with their findings, which findings, as of date, 4 years, 5 years into it, nothing has happened. And so creating a commission is just buying time. I've said this before. Is the farmer grazier issue a difficult problem to resolve? No, it's the simplest problem that can be solved. And it should be solved within hours, not days, not weeks. All I need to do is identify the land. I've said this before. Demarcate each person's parcel of land. And if you are a cattle rearer, you rear 1,000 cows, you have a space for that. You keep them within the confines of your fence. And the modern technology allows you to grow what they call fodder to feed your cows or your goats or your sheep or whatever animals you are rearing. Animal rearing did not start in Cameroon. It did not start in Africa. Today, there are countries in Europe, Belgium, for example, many countries in Europe, they rear more cattle than we have. They don't need acres upon acres of land to rear cows or to rear sheep or to rear goats. Simply keep within your own confines, grow the feed that they eat on, and then that's all. If the government can do anything, if they can do anything, it's just a question of providing some back wire to divide the fences. Because a cow is a very peaceful animal. It cannot jump over even a single rope. Once you put a rope there, the cow will come and stand there and go back. Not a wild animal. And so to me, they're just buying time. Again, I would have loved to see Ngala Gerard and the mayors who have created vigilante groups from the Bururos, who have armed them in the previous days, in the previous occasions, who have used them to kill other people that they suspect for not being loyalists to them, the CPDM, whatever it is. And so until they go deep into this and agree that the facts are so clear, you don't need a commission to do it. But in general terms, in Cameroon, that we know, once you hear that something has been sent to a commission, forget about that. Cameroon commission never give results. If they give any results, they give recommendations. Which recommendations? Whoever is being asked to take action, he would take no action. No action. And so if there's a crime going on there, the gendarmes who are there, the police guy who are there, they should go investigate. Unless they don't have an idea of investigation. If they move into that rural community or into the other community, these people know themselves. You can identify those guys who are doing nothing within us, arrest them, put them on trial for their crimes. But they're not doing that. They're buying time. What would the imam come and say there? What do you want the imam who probably be a villager to come and say? Or a farm who probably just a villager to come and say? He, the imam or the farm or whoever they call it, doesn't have the weapon to arrest a thief. He doesn't have the institution to try them. So you're bringing them what to do there. The whole commission is not investigating. It loses a commission to try to settle the dispute, not to investigate the crimes that have been committed, cautioned and adopted by the government. Remember who is the DO creating this thing? He's the personal representative of the president. Where was he all this time? He kept quiet. What's happening to the president right now? We don't know. The presidency itself that he represents is in chaos. So they create these things to buy time to manage their bigger problem. Oh, the president is taking note of what is going on. And so it's a wasted effort. I don't think it will bring any results. If it can bring some good results, that's great. But it will bring no results. Before 1961, that will purportedly join these people. The Bororos were living there. The other Fulani people were living there. They never fought against each other. What happened? What happened? They didn't start rearing cows today. They were rearing cows in the days of West Cameroon. They are still the same people. They didn't bring some land from the sky. The same piece of land on which they have lived. So what happened to these people between 1961 and 2024? That they started killing each other. Absence of government. or cooperation with the government to punish the people they don't like. As simple as that. Over to you.
Please, Barrister Mbeseha. I think I was going to agree with you, but then, you know, not that I do not agree with you, but let's see what happens in the next 1 week. Let's see if the Burrows will keep attacking, and let's see what the commission would have come up with. And then, of course, at that point, I would give you all the flowers. But of course, I'll still need your thought on this flooding issue, which we started a report on yesterday. So the recent floods in the Cameroons have, brought havoc, claiming innocent lives and leaving many in despair. Last week, we reported that a 13-year-old boy, Henry, fell into a stream in BMRC and was swept away by powerful currents. His body was recovered today in the Damas neighborhood. Now, these same floods affect the people of Ambazonia as well, right? This tragedy, this entirety underscores the urgent need for support and intervention as Cameroon struggles with natural disasters and humanitarian crises as well. The president's conspicuous absence has exacerbated concerns. And so would ask, just like the Catholic priests were asking yesterday for prayers for the Cameroon, what happens to Ambazonians? The international community must move beyond sympathy and take concrete action to aid Cameroons. The country desperately needs humanitarian assistance, infrastructure development, disaster preparedness, and response. When it comes to disaster preparedness and response, the people of the Cameroons are way, way behind. In this time of crisis, it is crucial to address the question, who will help Cameroons? The answer lies in collective responsibility and prompt intervention for liberation for the southern Cameroons to be in total control. Now, when you talk about disaster preparedness, there is raging fires in Mbouda. Natural disaster like fire is not an issue. It's not a problem. But when it becomes a problem is when there is no emergency or firefighting service on time or available to sort the issue. So last night, a destructive fire ravaged numerous shops at the main market in Mbouda, the chief town of Babatus. The flames consumed vast sectors of the marketplace, leaving behind significant material damage. However, thanks to the swift intervention of the local population, the fire was eventually brought under control, sparing any loss of life. Now, the cause of the blaze remains unknown, but this incident is part of a disturbing trend of market fires across southern Cameroon that continues to plague the region. During the early hours of the year, it was a trend in the southern Cameroons. This is not the first time the people of southern Cameroon have found themselves shouldering the heavy burden of controlling these fires with no structured emergency or any emergency response in place to intervene. Time and again, it has been the quick action of ordinary civilians, untrained civilians, that has prevented the flames from spreading further. But without timely government support or measures to prevent future incidents, each fire brings with it the risks of more severe consequences. Speculations abound that many of these fires may be intentional acts of arson, part of a targeted campaign by forces of occupation against the southern Cameroon's Ambazonian population. Despite the frequency and devastation of these blazes, no concrete steps have been taken to prevent or address them. The authorities, aligned with the occupying forces, have consistently failed to introduce any form of intervention strategy, leaving communities vulnerable to repeated fire outbreaks. The people of southern Cameroon have long expressed frustration over the lack of response and preventive measures from those in power who seem indifferent to incurring devastation. This neglect only reinforces the need for Ambazonians' full sovereignty and self governance. With its future independence, Ambazonians look forward to a system that will prioritize the well-being of its citizens, one that responds swiftly to emergencies, implements fire safety protocols, and ensures that its markets and communities are protected from avoidable disasters. In the vision of a free Ambazonia, the dysfunction that currently plagues southern Cameroons will be a thing of the past. The nation will be able to establish its own systems of governance and intervention, no longer subjugated to the negligence of an occupying regime. This dream of self determination offers hope to those who have tirelessly fought and rebuilt after each fire, as they look forward to a future where their lives, businesses, and safety are secured under a sovereign Ambazonian government. Barrister Mbeseha, the word here is preparedness for devastation. They are never prepared in the Cameroons. Of course, they handle Ambazonians for now. That is why Ambazonians seek to take what is rightfully theirs, their independence. No, no emergency service, no firefighting service, no help, no succor, just the people striving to do things themselves, regardless of the fact that they pay tax. What would your thoughts be on this?
Well, it's a very pitiable situation, especially for Ambazonians. And of course, particularly for Ambazonians of a certain age range. Because when you talk about natural disasters, where there are floods or fires, there are two things that come into play. There are preventable measures that should have been taken to prevent those things from happening. And then comes the management if they do occur. Both ways, they are failed. And this is what it means. I've lived in Mbouda for a long time. We were in Mbouda in the late 70s and early 80s. Even before then, see, the rain used to fall heavier than what is falling now even. To the point that we found that when the rain fell in the mountains, sometimes it didn't fall downtown. The flood would be terrible that they would bring down wild animals, deers. People would pick them up. We didn't know where they were coming from, but we saw a flood of a big river coming down from the mountain. And then they will catch it, they will pick these things who are already been swept down and eat. But they didn't flood the whole town. I saw a big river come from up there. Why? Because the construction pattern allowed for passage of rainwater. What we saw in Yaoundé and in Bafoussam and now Mbouda and all those places, it's not new there. It is good that the flood is taking place in Yaoundé before the administrative eyes themselves, the ministers and so on and so forth. Why is there flooding in those places? But before Yaoundé, let us deal with Ambazonia. Last week I saw something happen in Mbouda. Water was running all over the streets. Why? Did the water just come from the moon? They didn't provide for this. They didn't prevent this from happening. They were preventable things that you could do. First, if you block the passage for the water will look for its own way to pass and it will go anywhere. And in that process, it will destroy houses, it will kill people. How do you prevent this? There's what they call town planning, which is completely absent in Cameroon in general and in the Ambazonian today in particular. See, when we used to hear about a building permit, when you say you are building a house, you need a building permit. A building permit was signed, for it to be finally approved, was signed by at least perhaps 5 different signatures. You made a plan to build a house. The plan included the type of windows that you put there. It included many other things. And then you would take this thing to the Department of Health, who will sign. Yeah, the windows, every window is supposed to be maybe 2 meters by 2 meters. It's correct. That's for ventilation. Then you take it to the town planners, who will say this is where your house is standing. The house is not standing in the gutter. The house, by the building planning standards of the town of Mbouda, for example, the house must be at least 2 meters. I'm giving an example. Must be at least 2 meters from the other house. Why? Because if a fire caught your house, the fire should not extend to your neighbor's house. We never saw something like the house is being built, the walls are put together. That is town planning. If you are used to Mbouda, if you go to Mbouda today, there's a place called Bongo Square. It used to be called class quarters. That was built in the 50s. See, the buildings are there. See how spacious they are. So there's no prevention of these things from happening. The structures that are supposed to prevent it the method of preventing disasters, be it fire or flood, have been totally abandoned, both in Ambazonian, Bamenda, Boya, any other town. And in the bigger towns of Douala, you find houses falling down every day. In Yaoundé, you find those floods in Yaoundé. What do you expect if you have uncollected waste, dirt, where the people find it convenient? Because that's the only thing they can do. They dump it in what they call a valley. Because that's a space where nobody has built. What's their sense in it? Their sense is that if a heavy rain comes, and when it does come, we'll sweep down the dirt. We'll clean it and go down to the valley. That's their own idea. Of course, we'll sweep it to a point. But we'll take it somewhere and leave it there, and we'll still block the passage of the water. That's why if you see what's happening here one day in the source, they say it's source. Yes. Or no, they say Mokolo market and things like that. I know Mokolo market, but I live in here one day. So if you throw the dirt in the river, it will block the river. The rain will fall. This is a tropical area with heavy rain. The rain will fall, 6 inches of rain. We'll gather there. We'll push that dirt, the mountain of dirt. It will push some other and bring it there. It will block the whole passage. The water comes, it will flood the whole village, the whole town. That's just simple. So the preventive measures in building, whatever thing they're doing, in planning their cities and town planning, have been totally abandoned. Then the management of those situations, be it flood, be it rain, be it fire, there must be a management system. For example, we talk about the firefighting department. Is there anyone in Ambazonia? Very few, if at all. But do they even operate? No, they cannot operate. If you have a fire in your place there, it will not get there. Why? Because there's no road. That still goes now to the town planning. What they call the firefighter vehicles are vehicles. They are vehicles that drive on the road, they don't fly in the moon. So when you build a city, a town, without provision for how vehicles will move, firefighting vehicles will move, if they become necessary to save people in disaster, you have failed from day one. When you come to developed countries here, for example, in Mbouda, in Bamenda, everywhere, everybody gets to take some few pipes, 6 inches pipe, and collect water to his house. Over here, when you find the streets, on the streets or on the road, you find what they call the fire hydrant, a large place put out there. If there's a fire, the firefighting vehicle will come and stand there. You open that thing. That thing is water. It's like a river. Will fill their tanks. Or whatever thing they put there, it can be pumped about 400-500 meters from that spot. So we don't have those things. That's management. They are not there. They're really not put there out of greed. It's not because they don't know. Most of these people, mayors and ministers who are found in Yaoundé, who are found in Bamenda, they have studied here. They have seen these things in the streets. Some of them have houses here. Why are they not implementing them in their own towns? It's just because they want to steal the money or they want to close their eyes. And so this is where we are. We should not have been here, but we are here. Remember last week we were talking about this thing in the village in Boya, where they were catching everybody until a young lawyer from Bondoma had to write a letter. And I said, look, that young lawyer is a private practitioner, but the mayor of Boya, I said, is a lawyer. You're supposed to know those things. He never said anything. Kept quiet. It's not because you don't know. He's a lawyer. The mayor of Boya, who sat there, if I'm repeating myself, and saw Moja do all the terrible crimes that he committed publicly. The mayor said nothing. He's a lawyer. And many other people in town, influential people in town, are lawyers. Many other people in town are town planners, retired or active. And so that is where it is. That's why we're fighting to get out of it. And we can only hope that when we get out of it soonest, we can at least pick the spoils where we find them and try to repair what we can. We should never have been there. We've been forced into it, but it's never too late. So, over to you.
Oh well, I love those consolation lines there. It's never too late when the world is going digital. Ambazonians are still struggling with flood and flames and all of the basic things that should be at their, at the tip of their fingers. But let's hold on to those consolation words there. All right, Barrister Mbexia. So we are moving to our next report. Well, according to Cameroon's constitution, if President Paul Biya's seat becomes vacant, Marcel Niat Njifenji, the 90-year-old Senate president, is next in line to take over as leader. This protocol is specified in the Cameroonian constitution, which outlines the order of successions. Now, it's worth noting that Njifenji has recently been re-elected for the 11th time as the head of the Senate at the remarkable age of 90. It's amazing that the Cameroons respect the elders more and they think that the elders deserve the seats. Oh, well, this development comes amid speculation surrounding Bia's health and potentially succession. And of course, you know that there has been a ban on that particular topic. Well, we also gathered that in the context of Cameroon's politics, the issue of secession has been a topic of debate, particularly with the upcoming 2025 presidential election. Some opposition leaders like Maurice Kamto have expressed their intention to run for the presidency, with Kamto even promising to meet Biya and his family if he wins. While the secession protocol and potential candidates will likely continue to be closely watched as their situation unfolds, BS health issues have sparked speculations about his potential secession. The 90-year-old president has been absent from public view for about 43 days now, extended periods, fueling concerns about the country's leadership. The upcoming election has opposition leaders like Maurice Kamto announcing their candidacy. Kamto has pledged to protect the BS family, like I said earlier on, which signals a potential shift in the country's political landscape. While there are others like Edith Kawela, Akaremonia Jean Michael Nietzsche. Well, there are some other challenges we tend to see ahead. Ensuring a peaceful transition of power. Do you think that there will be a peaceful transition of power? How about addressing Cameroon's Ambazonian conflict and crisis? Who is going to have that negotiations with the Ambazonian community, managing the country's economy and social development? We see flood ravaging the people. We see houses. We see markets taken over by flames. As Cameroons navigate e-secession protocol, the whole world watches closely, hoping for stability and progress in their Central African nation. And it's at this point we'll ask, what about Frank Biya? What is happening to him? Is the Cameroons are democratic states? Or oh well, Barrister Mbeseha, while I'm trying to ask and probably even answer the questions myself, I want to ask, why are the leaders in the Cameroons, why are the leaders? Why do the Cameroons not have younger people? Are they allergic to younger people on the flip side? What's happening? What's the difference between a 91-year-old and a 90-year-old at this point?
Actually, in terms of age, there's nothing different between the two of them. But this is the bottom line. See, one thing we have to understand is it is a transition in any country in the world, especially an unexpected transition. Death, accident, coup d'etat is the most difficult thing you can find there. It's not a thing that any country, even a good country, would hope it happens to them.
All right, sincerest apologies for that breaking transmission. Is due to some technical hitches there. Barrister Mbeseha, we apologize sincerely for that break there. But before that break, you were giving us some in-depth explanation as to what the Constitution entail and what Cameroons are to expect going forward.
Yes, I was saying that in every country, the management of a transition such as this, what is coming on in Cameroon, is always difficult because nobody expects it to happen. Though it is put down there in the constitution, there are things that don't happen often. And so a transition is managed to wait for the normalcy to return. But you have asked the question, Mr. Njifenji, the constitutional person who will manage the transition, is the president of the Senate. But their constitution, it falls on him. But she really said, put it there. What is the difference between Mr. Njifenji and Paul Biya? In terms of age, they are the same people. They fall within the same age range. People in their 90s, if they have any difference in age, it's not up to 5 years. And so you find these old people sitting there in terms of human beings. Then in the second instance, in terms of political structure that they are going to manage, what difference does it make? Absolutely nothing. It's a CPM oligarch. It's a CPM structure put there for the past 50 years. And so what does it mean, you ask? How will it be done? We don't know. But the important thing is, it's not by a coincidence that these people sitting up there running the country are almost of the same age range. Are they so stupid? Certainly not. Njifenji has great-grandchildren who are in their 50s. Paul Biya has cousins and uncles who are in their 60s, and sons and daughters of his. And so you must ask yourself, why is it a coincidence that these people are so old now? It is a planned act of a wicked regime, a regime that was designed to take the nation to the grave. You can say that Paul Biya, Njifenji, the Speaker of the National Assembly, you can probably say that they are all riding the common bus to the eternity, just naturally. All of them are diaper-wearing people. And so it doesn't matter whoever sits there to do it. It brings the same result because they are not a product of the people. They are a product of the system called the CPDM. The CPDM, which according to me, is a very wicked government. They're actually wicked. That's why we talked in the earlier segment about disasters, water, fire occurring, and I explained that there was not planning, there was not not structures put in place to administer such cases. These were all the CPDM people. These were all things done under BF, who has been in power daily as the president for 42 years. And if you add his premiership to the thing, it takes him to 50-something years. That's half a century. Half a century is a lifetime in politics. And so these people are on their way out naturally. But the question is, how does that affect Ambazonia? Because the manager, whoever runs that interim, which I'm sure will not even be Njifenji because he himself is dying, whoever steps in their shoe to do the interim has his or her hands tied behind his or her back. Because if they respect their constitution, that person is not even allowed to change the cabinet. He cannot even make a new minister. He cannot do anything. Just sitting there trying to organize the elections. And of course, we know what elections in Cameroon are. He has maybe 60 days or what, so on. So as far as Ambazonian is concerned, that puts Ambazonia 66 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year period in the wild, in the wilderness, because we have nobody to turn to. That guy who might succeed in running the interagency probably doesn't even have the constitutional duties to talk to Ambazonians as a government. He cannot even do it. So he keeps his mouth shut. But what difference does it make? Paul Biya himself, who has been there, we're talking about election next year, that will be 7 years. He was elected in 2018. He has not talked to us. So how do you expect the man on the interim, who is also a CPDM guy, to come and talk to us? He's not going to talk to Ambazonians. That's the general feeling. And so what should we Ambazonians do? I said last week, I think, that our only interest in this thing is that our neighbor has a cradai. And so we can go to cry with them. We should then say, if this neighbor had been a kind neighbor, we're sharing a common pipe, standing pipe to drink water, and he stood in his compound because of the death to close it. So we must survive without them. It all shines the light on our eyes that look, we have to do everything possible to get out of it before the ship sinks. Because given what they have built in what they call the government, the chances are that that thing will crumble. The thing might crumble, and it's crumbled, it becomes the survivor of the fittest. And we Ambazonians were not there, we have said we're no longer part of it. But we have cousins, we have uncles, we have brothers and sisters who are there, pretending to be part of a sinking ship. And so let us re-strategize over here how to manage ourselves. I've said here that we don't need to tell the strategy we have to use right here to get out and escape. For those of us who are still remaining there, we have to escape. We cannot sink with the ship. As the Englishman says, only a stupid fly will follow the coffin into the grave. So we're not going to follow the coffin of that regime into his grave. If we do so, we're the stupidest people who can find in the world. We're the most stupid people who can find in the world. So let us prepare ourselves as Ambazonians in general. And I hope, and I'm sure the government in particular, is very aware of what is going on. And so transition or no transition, that is not our problem. But if they're lucky to have their transition, the message is the same. We're waiting for whoever sits there to come to the conference table without preconditions. The Abaimukons and the rest told Ahijo the same thing. He died without doing it. The Dinkas, Ahijo died. He ruled until he died. He knew the challenges. He refused to act. Paul Biya inherited it from him for 40 years, telling the unbelievable that it doesn't exist. But unfortunately for him, at the time that he's dying or that he's dead, the pot is boiling so hot that a drop of water will not stop the water from overspilling into the fire. Over to you.
Bryce and Mbeseha, I love how you would always conclude with enduring and satisfactory statements to help Ambazonians pull through this should I say, these difficult times. All right. Thank you so much for being part of Undaunted tonight, and sincerest apologies for all of the little breaks we've had here and there. Sure that Thursday would have enough time to delve deeper into all of the other issues that we'll be spawning out. But for now, I would have to let you go, Barrister Mbese. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. News across Africa. Well, a bus carrying university students in northeastern Egypt tragically crashed, resulting in the death of 13 people and injuring 33 others. Well, according to the Egyptian Health Ministry, the accident occurred while the students were traveling back to their dormitory after attending classes. Local media reports indicates that emergency services swiftly arrived at the scene with ambulances transporting the injured to nearby hospitals. Although no detail about the condition of the injured have been released, the driver of the bus has been arrested as authorities launch an investigation into the cause of the accident. Khalid Abdel Ghaffar, Egypt's Minister of Health, and Ayman Ashur, the Minister of Higher Education, extended their condolences to the families of the victims. Unfortunately, such tragic incidents are not uncommon in Egypt, where road accidents claim thousands of lives each year. Poor infrastructure, speeding, and weak enforcement of traffic regulations are often cited as contributory factors to these recurring disasters. The Nile Basin nations have taken a historic step towards resolving long-standing tensions over water rights with the endorsement of the Cooperative Framework Agreement. The treaty, which came into effect on the 13th of October 2024, aims to promote equitable and sustainable management of the Nile River and world's longest river. For decades, upstream communities and countries such as Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda have argued that Egypt and Sudan's downstream states were unfairly granted greater control over the river's waters through colonial era agreements, with 7 countries, including Ethiopia, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Democratic Republic of Congo, signing on to the CFA. The treaty seeks to rectify historical imbalances in access to the Nile resources. The Nile Basin Initiative, a coalition of the riparian states, issued a statement underscoring the importance of the agreement, stating the CFA recognizes the legitimate needs of all Nile Basin states and commits to equitable sharing of these water in a manner that promotes sustainable development. While the agreement offers hope for the future collaboration, tension still remains, particularly between Egypt and Ethiopia, whose construction of a massive hydropower project on the Blue Nile has heightened concerns over water security for Cairo. Meanwhile, on the 12th of October 2024, President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo reaffirmed the continuation of military cooperation with Uganda in their joint effort to combat the allied Democratic Forces rebels in the eastern province of North Kivu and Ituri. This decision was made after a high-level evaluation meeting between military leaders from both countries. Since joint operations began in November 2021, the Congolese and Ugandan armies have made significant progress against the ADF, a group affiliated with the Islamic State responsible for a series of brutal massacres in the region between April and September 2024. 52 ADF fighters were killed and 72 were captured. However, the collaboration between the two nations has been complicated by accusations that Uganda is also supporting the M23 rebel group, which is reportedly backed by Rwanda. A recent UN report alleges that Uganda facilitated meetings with M23 leaders, raising questions about its dual involvement in both combating and perpetuating regional instability. Despite these challenges, the Congolese government remains committed to its military partnerships with Uganda to restore peace in the volatile eastern regions. Coming up next is news across the globe. While the Pentagon's decision to send a high altitude anti missile system, specifically the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense THAAD battery, to Israel, is a significant development in the escalating tensions between Israel and Iran. This move aims to bolster Israel's air defenses following the massive Iranian missile attack on the 1st of October, which involved over 180 ballistic missiles. President Joe Biden has made it clear that the deployment is intended to defend Israel, which is still planning its retaliation against the Iranian strike. The deployment of around 100 U.S. troops to operate the THAAD system marks a notable increase in the U.S. involvement in the region, adding to the existing small numbers of U.S. forces already in Israel. The THAAD system will strengthen Israel's ability to counter future missile attacks. The deployment signals deeper U.S. involvement in the regional conflict. Israel's planned response to the Iranian attack, described as lethal, precise, and surprising by Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, remains highly anticipated. The Iranian missile attack, condemned or codenamed Operation Through Promise 2, was reportedly a response to Israel's assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Iranian-backed Hezbollah in Beirut. This incident has sparked concerns about the effectiveness of Israel's missile defenses and the potential for future escalation. Meanwhile, companies looking to exit Russia will now have to sell their operations at a 60% discount, up from the previous 50% discount, and face a steeper exit tax of 35% increase from 15%. The change tightens Moscow's grip on foreign firms and banks, making it even harder for them to leave. Over 1,000 companies have already curtailed their operations in Russia, with some choosing to remain despite international sanction. Those that stay are either continuing business as usual or have found ways to adapt, such as China's Alibaba's and Russia's Sharebank. Companies will face significant losses due to the increased discount and